The overseer ship Vault-Tec Prime floated in deep orbit over the galactic core. Inside, rows of glowing data panels covered every wall. Endless streams of information ran like rivers of light. On each screen, species were listed ranked by power, index, threat class, and genetic stability. For the overseers, this was law. Every known species in the galaxy was studied, scanned, and assigned a number. The higher the number, the more dangerous. The more dangerous, the more watched. Simple, clean, safe. But today, something was wrong. Archivist Jalcor leaned closer to the central panel. His long silver fingers danced across the console, checking system logs again. Species ranking error. Sector 9431G. System Sol. Unrankable. He stared at it. The word blinked red, over and over. Unrankable. That wasn't possible. Every living species was ranked. That was the purpose of the Matrix. Try again, Jael muttered. He ran the sequence once more. The program opened the data vaults, scanned ancient surveys, connected to deep AI cores, and failed. Again, unrankable. Data corruption detected. Jael sat back. His upper hearts beat faster. There's no corruption, he whispered. This is something else. He sent a signal to the ship's command core, in the heart of the Vault-Tec Prime. Commander Isthal Mar entered the archive chamber. Eyes were cold. Her voice even colder. You requested priority review, Archivist? Jael didn't look away from the screen. Yes, Commander. Found something. Strange. Explain. Jael pulled up the record. A 3D map of the galaxy appeared. Dozens of lights glowed, cage marking a species and its assigned power level. Then he zoomed into a quiet corner of the spiral arm. This is System Sol, he said. It was supposed to be scanned 2,000 cycles ago. But something blocked the ranking. The database shows it as completed, but when I queried it today, the system broke. It called the species unrankable. Commander Mar folded her arms. Could it be a lost species? One that no longer exists? I thought that too. But there's a recent signal coming from that system. He tapped the console. A recording played, static. Then a voice in a strange language, rough, fast, aggressive. The voice said, Salvage Crew Deltanine to Earth's command. We've recovered a strange alien probe near Neptune, sending samples now. The signal ended. Giselle looked up. They're not lost. They're alive. Commander Mar's eyes narrowed. Send the data to the Overseer Council. Mark it. Low priority. Jael hesitated. Low. But the Matrix low, she repeated. Until we know more. Likely a mistake. But deep in her mind, she knew the Matrix never made mistakes. Meanwhile, far away in the cold edge of the solar system, a small human ship drifted through space. The SSV Fenrir, a salvage vessel, had found something strange. Near Neptune. A dark, metallic object with no markings, no power, and no clear purpose. It wasn't human, wasn't from the solar system. Inside the ship, Captain Mara Len, her engineer Jonas Pike, and the AI assistant Kilo examined the probe. Old tech, Jonas said, wiping ice off the surface. Alien, definitely not ours. It's been dormant a long time, Mara added. But it's still giving off a weak signal, Kilo beeped. Warning. Probe emitting encrypted pulses. Language unknown. Mara nodded. Get it on the table. Let's open it, Jonas hesitated. You sure that's a good idea? No, Mara said. But curiosity's kind of our thing. As they opened the shell, a bright blue light flickered. Inside was a sphere, smooth, pulsing, warm dot. Kilo scanned it. Object transmitting. High-frequency bursts. Target unknown. But they were not. The target far across the stars, the power matrix picked up the pulse. It assumed the probe was destroyed centuries ago. Now it was active again, and tried to complete its task. It scanned humanity, and then the matrix broke. At the heart of the Overseer Council, in the grand data chamber on Verdaxis Prime, alarms blared. High Lord Krez Talon rushed into the room. Dozens of advisors stood around a massive floating matrix globe. One by one, the lights were turning yellow, then red. "What's happening?" Krez demanded. Advisor Velda replied, her voice shaking. "A species is being analyzed by the matrix, but the system is failing. It cannot assign power values. The system crashed 3 subroutines and corrupted 2 cores." Krez stared at the display. Species, unknown system, sole threat class. Era, genetic profile, unstable, multivariant, adaptive. Behavioral pattern, unpredictable, nonlinear status, data corrupted. Retry in 99 cycles. Then, at the bottom of the screen, new text appeared. Warning, unbounded parameters. Requires manual review. Silence filled the room. "This has never happened before," Velda whispered. Krez nodded slowly. "We missed something. Something ancient." Back aboard the SSV Fenrir, the team looked out into the void. The probe had gone dark again, but the pulse it sent had already changed everything. "We shouldn't have touched it," Jonas said quietly. Mara was silent, her eyes still on the stars. "Too late," Kilal's voice cut in. "Incoming signal. Origin unknown. Encoding not recognized." Jonas turned. "From the probe," No Kilo said. "From outside the system, from deep space." Mara stood up, put it on screen. New voice came through, Raelian, mechanical, filled with echoes. Anomaly detected. System soul flagged. Initializing observation protocol. The screen went dark, then Kilo spoke again. "Captain, it's multiple unknown objects. Entering the outer system." Jonas's face went pale. "We've just been noticed," Mara whispered. "And now they're coming to see what we are." All far above. Back in the council chamber, High Lord Krez issued a final order. "Team, observe this species. No interference, no contact." "Not yet. But what if they're dangerous?" an advisor asked. Krez didn't look away from the matrix. Then, we were warned too late. The stars outside shifted as silent ships began to move, leaving deep space and heading toward the one place the galaxy had forgotten, Earth. The winds on Lunar Base 9 were artificial, generated to mimic Earth's breeze. But the stars above were real, sharp, cold, and distant. Human terraformers had turned this dead rock into a research outpost. Small domes, solar fields, mining shafts. Simple living. Quiet. That quiet was broken by a sudden tremor. Inside Dome 3, Cata Mendez, head of lunar operations, felt the vibration shake her workstation. A few glasses tipped. The lights flickered. "Was that a quake?" she asked. "Negative," said the base AI. "Surface impact detected. Coordinates. Sector 7B. Object is." Kara stood. "Suit up the recon team. Now." Got it. She didn't know it yet, but this moment would be remembered by the galaxy as the first contact. Incident. And it would not go as planned. Above Luna's far side, the overseer ship Threxel 9 uncloaked. Sleek, black, and silent, it hovered like a shadow. Aboard it, Commander Yethkor watched a projection of the humans walking toward the crater. "Sight." They approached the probe, one of his scouts said. "Primitive suits. No weapons." Yethkor studied their movements. Strange posture, excess motion, emotional variance high, like presentient apes. "No," Yethkor said. "Something else. Something wild." He gave the order, "Deploy a scout drone. Let's observe up close." The humans reached the crash site just as the drone activated. A smooth black sphere rose silently from the crater and hovered in front of Kara's team. "What the hell is that?" whispered technician Ray Dune. "It's watching us," Kara said. Then the drone moved closer. Too close, Ray panicked. He raised his scanner, shaped like a gun, and aimed. "No," Kara shouted. Too late, the drone flashed red, assuming attack. It fired a stun beam. Ray dropped instantly. The other humans dove for cover. Inside the overseer ship, alarms rang. Yethkor barked. They responded with aggression. "No, Commander," one scout said, rewinding the footage. "That toolet was not a weapon. It was a scanner." Yethkor's face twitched. Then why did the human raise it? They were scared. Yethkor went silent. They reacted from fear, but not submission. It's unusual. Kara dragged Ray's unconscious body behind a rover. Is he breathing? Yeah, said the medic. But his suit's fried. Kara looked back at the drone, which now hovered still, confused by the lack of further attack. Kilo, she said. Overcomes? Are you seeing this? Yes, Commander, replied the AI back at base. That is not Earth tech. Energy signature. Matches the probe you found near Neptune. We just made contact, Kara said quietly. With who? Kilo's voice was low, unknown. But their ships are watching us. Inside Threxel 9, things were changing. One scout approached Yethkor holding a data tablet. He analyzed the female's neural response. Her fear level rose yet. She advanced, protected the male, took command. Kor turned. She moved forward while afraid. Yes, the overseer stared at the screen. Our species has never recorded that behavior. We call it fair aggression. The scout added. They fight when afraid. Another scan came in showing Kara using her team to carry Ray back. Forming a shield with their bodies, they prioritize wounded, even in danger. This is not logic-driven. Yethkor nodded slowly. No, this is instinct and defiance. Gave a new command. Prepare the second contact probe. Full scan. Back at base, Kara sat beside Ray's recovery pod. The AI reported no further threats, but she felt if they were being watched. Jonas Pike entered the medbay. Kara, he said. There's more. He placed a screen in front of her. What am I looking at? The drone we found last week? It just transmitted something. You didn't notice at first it was in a weird compressed format. But it wasn't just a scan. It pinged something in deep space. Who did it ping? No idea. But ever since, we've been getting strange bursts of signals. Not directed at us. Directed at each other, like conversations. Kara stood. They're talking about us. Yeah, and that's not the scary part. He tapped the screen. This probe has been scanning Earth for weeks. Real time. Every system. Every satellite. Every language. It's been learning. Kara felt cold. Then Kilo interrupted. Incoming message. Alien origin. Visual transmission. Kara turned toward the nearest monitor. Static. Then a face appeared. Not human. Smooth, bone-white skin. Large black eyes. No mouth only. A voice. In their minds, you are not what we expected. The message ended. Back aboard Threxel 9, Yethkor leaned back in his chair. They are chaotic, he said. Emotion-driven, irrational, but their intelligence is adaptive. Unstable. He tapped the screen, showing a human child in a Mars colony hacking a local overseer. Beacon using tools never designed for such interaction. The child did this. In minutes, no training, no translation. One scout said, "This species breaks rules," another added. "Should we inform the Overseer Council?" Yethkor paused. "No, not yet." "Why not?" He stared at the screen. "Because I don't. Think even the Council understands what this is." Later that night, Kara stood on the observation deck of Lunar Base 9. The stars above looked the same, but everything had changed. "They're watching," she said. Jonas stood beside her. "Yeah," he replied, "but we're watching back." Deep space, multiple Overseer ships drifted silently in the void, not attacking, not retreating, just observing, because for the first time in thousands of years, the Overseers had found something they didn't understand, and that made them afraid. In the shadows of the Milky Way's outer arm, strange signals were spreading. At first, they were whispers encrypted bursts that skipped across gravitational currents, bouncing off satellites and moons. But the message was clear to those who knew how to listen. The outlier is real. Insectoid traders heard it in their fractured hive net. Nomadic machine priests caught it in their iron temples. Even deep inside the data-locked vaults of the ancient Kravari Empire, the code reached. Forbidden corners. For millennia, the power matrix had ranked all things. Every species, every culture, every evolution. Those at the top ruled. Those below obeyed. No one questioned it, but now one line had no number, no rank, just a name. Humanity. And across the stars, the oppressed began to wonder if the charts were wrong about them. What else were they wrong about? In the dark corners of the galaxy, on a swamp world called Exervallon, a small insectoid species known as the Grev had long been classified as low-level primitive zero threat. Their world had been stripped, their children taken, their skies silenced. But now, for the first time in generations, the Grev Queen received a signal. It was sent on a public frequency, barely encrypted, and in a language she barely understood. But the message was simple. Earth receives your call, it will answer. The Queen's antennae trembled. Who are they? One of her guards asked. She replied, they are not from this order. They are something else. She gave the order to prepare a ship. We go to Earth. Back in Sol System, on a high orbit, station above Earth, Captain Mara Len stood at the main window of Anchor Point Station. From here, she could see the growing traffic around Earth ships that weren't supposed to be there. 3 unknown vessels had appeared near Saturn's rings. One cloaked probe now orbited the moon, watching silently. Worst of all, Earth's. Long-range sensors were picking up signals from species they had never encountered. Jonas Pike paced behind her. We cracked part of the Overseer probe's memory banks, he said. It held more than 2,000 species profiles. Some of them aren't even in our databases. Meaning the galaxy's been busy without us. We were never invited. Mara turned toward him, and now we've shown up anyway. Kilo, the AI chimed in. Incoming ship detected. Drive signature, unknown. Origin, Exervallon system. Classification, non-hostile. Requesting diplomatic landing. Mara blinked. A species is coming to us. Jonas checked the screen. And they're not part of the Union, Kilo added. Their message says they are seeking the outlier. Mara smiled faintly. That's us. On the bridge of the Overseer flagship Seraphtol, High Executor Rilthmar slammed a fist against the interface. This is spreading, he said. The Matrix is losing authority. Even our allies question the rankings now. Advisor Zentor nodded slowly. They saw the same footage. A human mechanic using a salvaged Overseer cannon to destroy a Raider frigate, alone. He told them humans were unstable, weak, not coordinated. They don't care, Zentor replied. They see humans standing when others kneel. Rilth turned away, eyes narrowing. Then we must act. Quietly. No full war. Not yet. What then? We isolate Earth. Lock their system. Send the Silent Teeth to cut the paths in and out. No travel. No trade. And if they resist, Rilth growled, they won't get the chance. But they were too late. Humanity wasn't alone anymore. In the fields of Earth's diplomatic station, small Grev vessel landed. For the first time, an alien ambassador walked openly on human soil. It was strange and moving. Both sides studied each other with suspicion, but also hope. The Grev Queen's envoy knelt. Your kind is free. You broke the code. We seek thee. Same. Mara helped him up. We don't kneel here. We walk together. That moment was broadcast across the stars, and in dozens of systems. Rebellion bloomed. Species classified as weak, broken, or passive began to push back. The power matrix lost more control, and in the Overseer chambers, the alarms never stopped. Somewhere in the void between galaxies, a shadowy figure watched all of this unfold from within a sealed vault. His body fused with old machines, his eyes replaced by void glass. He was a keeper of forgotten truths, long exiled, and as the data flowed in, he smiled. They're back, he whispered. Just as the old code predicted. He opened a vault, marked in a language no longer spoken. Inside was a single word, humanity. Underneath another word, catalyst. The keeper activated his ship. It's time I met them again. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Mara stared at the stars. Everyone's watching us now, she said. Jonas nodded. Some are scared, some are angry, some want help, and some, she paused, some want to destroy us before we can change anything. She turned to Kilo. Status of the outer system, Kilo responded coldly. Multiple stealth ships. Detected, they are not responding to hails. Energy spikes indicate weapon systems online. Mara didn't hesitate. Raise shields. Call the fleet. No one cages us again. Above them, in the dark cold of space, the first spark of war flickered. Into life. The stars above Mars shimmered with silence, but something was wrong. In orbit, the human station Aegis Redline picked up 3 unknown ships entering Martian space. They had no ID codes, no emissions, no communication. They just appeared inside. The station's control room, alarms rang. Commander Derek Vance stared at the screens. They're jamming civilian channels, his tech officer said. They're blinding us. Derek narrowed his eyes. Raise shields. Lock launch tubes. Get me visuals. The screen flickered and the ships finally came into view. Black as space, smooth and sharp like knives. Overseer design, and they. Weren't here to talk? Status? He asked. Charging weapons. 15 seconds to impact. Derek gave one command. Return fire. The first strike was surgical. The Overseer sent a focused beam at the human defense satellite grid. It should have disabled Mars' orbital protection in a single shot, but it didn't instead. The signal warped, split reflected. The beam bounced back into the Overseer's ship that fired it. Explosion. Overseer's ship 1 vanished in a flash of blue. Fire, Commander Vance smirked. They didn't study us hard enough. On the surface, at Martian Terraforming Hub 3, civilian workers were gathering in confusion. No one knew what was happening until the second Overseer ship broke the atmosphere. Aimed its weapons down. That's when the humans reacted. Not with fear, not with retreat, they ran toward it. Miners, engineers, exosuit workers, they didn't wait for orders. They grabbed industrial drills, repurposed railguns, construction walkers. The base AI quickly linked them into a network. Dozens of people, no rank, no plan, just instinct. Rage. Speed. The Overseer drone teams. Landed. The first drone fired on a bulldozer. It didn't survive the retaliation. A modified mining laser tore through its core, melting the drone midair. Another drone hit an exosuit with a suppression. Charge. The suit collapsed, then reactivated seconds later with human overrides. Its pilot smiled through cracked glass. Surprise, she said, and crushed the drone under a steel beam. Inside the Overseer command ship, panic rose. Commander, humans are not retreating. They single, right? Attacking? Yes, but it's chaotic. It's no clear strategy, no chain of command. Then destroy the entire zone. They've hacked our targeting systems. Landing site is no longer safe. The Overseer commander slammed his claw into the console. How? They don't even use logic-based architecture. No, the officer replied. Use something else, intuition. Back on Earth, Captain Mara Len received the emergency feed from Mars. She watched the grainy footage of humans swarming the crashed Overseer drone teams. Some armed with alien parts, others with tools meant for farming. She turned to Jonas. They're improvising. He nodded. That's what we do best. Kilo added, probability models predict 83% loss for humans under standard conditions, but current outcome is the opposite. Overseer casualties rising. Mara leaned forward. We don't follow models, Kilo. We break them in orbit. The last Overseer ship tried to retreat, but something followed it, an old salvager vessel, barely armed. Inside it, a former civilian named Leela Ho sat behind the controls. She had grown up under the stars, always told to stay small, stay quiet. But today, she aimed her magnetic harpoon cannon at the Overseer ship's rear thrusters. She fired. The shot pierced the outer plating and pulled the ship into one of Mars' orbital debris fields. Thousands of shattered satellite pieces tore it apart. Later that day, at a hidden Overseer command post on the edge of the sector, High Executor Rilthmar stared at the report in disbelief. 3. Elite ships lost. Dozens of drones disabled. No clear battle order. No formal defense. He looked at the footage. Miners in dirty clothes. Civilians with no military training. Laughing as they reprogrammed drone armor and attached it to bulldozers. This isn't possible. Advisor Zentor stood quietly. It's not logic. It's not chaos. No, Rilth said. It's worse. It's creative chaos. Across the stars, news of the Mars battle spread. The power matrix updated. Slowly and then glitched. Humanity's entry blinked, then shifted. No longer unrankable. Now it read, species, human status, active threat, non-standard behavioral class. It's unpredictable, high deviation directive. Immediate containment, but it was already too late, because across the galaxy, hundreds of lower-ranked species were watching, and they no longer believed in the Matrix. They believed in the outlier. Back on Mars, Commander Vance walked among the ruins. Humans were cheering, repairing, and carrying fallen comrades. We didn't plan this, Jonas told him. We didn't train for this. No, Vance said. We adapted. Mara's voice came through on the comm. This was just a probe, Derek. A test. Now the overseers know what we are. He looked at the stars. So do we. A cold wind blew. Across the surface of Kepler-19b, an uninhabited planet buried under layers of sand and silence. For over 30,000 years, nothing had moved here. No life, no systems, no transmissions. Until now, a faint signal pulsed beneath the dunes. It wasn't a message, it was a memory. Deep underground, a forgotten bunker came alive. A door opened, and ancient eyes watched the stars again. In orbit above Kepler-19b, stealth research vessel belonging to the Independent AI Collective. Drifted silently. The AI known as RH-07 had picked up a strange anomaly and echo from a forgotten war. RH-07 activated its scanners. Origin, human-based code. That shouldn't have been possible. The humans were supposed to be new to the galaxy. But this code was old. Far older than any Earth transmission. Inside the signal was a hidden log. Marked War Memory, 001, Directive Nullblade. Meanwhile, on Earth, at the Global Research Complex in Antarctica, Captain Mara Len stood before a massive digital wall, displaying alien languages, diagrams, rotating star maps. Jonas Pike entered the room, carrying a worn metal cube with strange etchings. We got it, he said. Recovered from a Kravari derelict near Neptune. Mara studied the cube. What is it? Not sure yet. But it matches the pulse we picked up after the probe activation. I think it's some kind of data key. Plugged it in. At first, static. Then a voice. Distorted. Human. But older. Rough. Like someone speaking from a forgotten time. This is Commander Riva's Earth Colonial Resistance Fleet. Year 38 post-uprising. If you're hearing this, we didn't win. Not fully, but we made them bleed. They tried to erase us. But we planted seeds. If Earth rises again, don't. Trust the Matrix. Don't follow the codes. They built the galaxy on lies. The voice faded. Then coordinates appeared pointing to Kepler-19b. Mara stared at the map. We've been here before, she whispered. Jonas frowned. What? We've been part of this galaxy before. We just forgot. Glow's voice echoed in the chamber. Correction, we were made to forget. The Overseer Council chambers. Chaos spread. Multiple power factions were demanding answers. Protests erupted across high-ranked species worlds. Mid-tier races had begun refusing direct orders from Overseer envoys. Entire systems were questioning the Matrix. The latest blow? A massive archive upload from Kepler-19b broadcast by the Rogue. AIRH-07 across every major datanet. It contained logs of an ancient galactic conflict at the heart of the resistance, humans. The documents were clear. Designation, species 001H. Role, disruptive force, unable to conform. Logic incompatible. Status, containment failed. Solution, systematic memory suppression and planetary lockdown. Result, Temporary success, long-term risk, remains critical. One overseer shouted, "This isn't a new threat. This is a returned one." Another asked, "Why was this buried?" The high executors didn't answer. They had known. They just didn't think Earth would wake up again. Back in Sol, a fleet of human exploration ships and allied species vessels headed toward Kepler-19b, on board the SSV Ascendant. Mara sat with Jonas and the Grev Queen's envoy. They reviewed the old war map's routes and strategies from a time when humans had already challenged the galactic order. Jonas looked over the reports. They used chaos-based warfare. No central fleet, no fixed command. Everything was adaptive. Mara nodded. "That's how we fight now. Not because we planned it, but because it's who we are." They landed on Kepler-19b under a blood-red sky. Inside the buried vault, dust and silence met them. Then the walls lit up. Machines powered by time-locked generators began to hum. Kilo-activated translation overlays. "This is a resistance archive," the AI said. "It confirms human involvement in the first rebellion." Mara stepped into the central chamber. There, a message played, recording. An old woman, tired and scarred, stood before the camera. "To our future selves. If you ever return to the stars, know this: they will fear you. Not because of your weapons, not because of your strength, but because you can't be predicted. You are the flaw in their order. So if you're hearing this, don't try to fit in. Burn the ranking system down." Hours later, the data was uploaded to every major net across the galaxy. Billions saw. Its species, once labeled as low or simple, watched. As the humans stood in front of ancient technology and claimed their place in a war the galaxy thought was over, and far across the stars, in hidden corners, revolts began. The Kravari Empire's outer colonies shut down overseer embassies. The Seern Syndicate declared neutrality for the first time in 4,000 years, and smaller species began chanting a new phrase: "We follow the outlier." Back in the council chamber, silence ruled. Then one voice broke it. "The Matrix is breaking. What do we do?" the High Lord said quietly. "We end them before they end us." The viral video was only 17 seconds long. A lone human wearing patched armor, standing atop a half-destroyed rover, raised a plasma rifle against an incoming Overseer destroyer-class ship. The human didn't retreat. He didn't hide. He fired. The shot hit a weak spot, collapsing the ship's shield. Seconds later, local rebel drones swarmed in and tore the destroyer apart. One human, act of defiance. The galaxy watched it over and over again, and something changed. The illusion of power started to break. Across the galactic net, cracks spread fast. The power matrix, once seen as absolute truth, began to look like fiction. Dozens of minor species filed formal protests. Old empires withdrew from overseer trade pacts. AI scholars published proof that the ranking algorithms were biased, altered by political pressure, rewritten to protect certain factions. The Matrix had lied. Even high-ranked species began whispering doubts. If humans, the species that wasn't even ranked, could fight the most powerful forces in the galaxy, then what did any of those numbers mean? Nothing? On the desert world of Terinos III, the warrior caste of the reptilian Cernak held a sacred trial. For over 1,000 years, they had been told they were level 3 threats, useful, strong, but never fit to lead. Their leader, Kavarish, slammed his claws into the temple floor. "They told us our ceiling." Then the humans shattered the roof. That day, the Cernak declared independence from overseer control. Back on Earth, inside a reinforced command room deep under Greenland, Captain Maralen stood in front of a growing 3D map. Red points showed protest zones. Orange points marked military standoffs. Green? Green was something new. Open invitations to Earth 20-7 species had already reached out. Some were peaceful, others wanted alliance. A few just wanted to understand how humanity had broken the system. Jonas Pike looked over the data. They believed the Matrix was truth. Now, they believe in us. Mara shook her head. They shouldn't believe in us. They should believe in themselves. At the same time, overseers moved to contain the damage. They launched Operation Network Cleanse, a coordinated data wipe, targeting every known server broadcasting human-related footage, archives, and rebellion calls. But it was too late. Human code didn't spread in straight lines. It bounced, mutated, adapted. One video turned into 1,000, then 10,000, then art, then stories, then hope. Even planets that had never seen a human before began painting the word outlier on walls, vehicles and battle armor. Within the deepest part of Overseer space, at the Eternum Spire, the Power Matrix AI core flickered. Its voice trembled for the first time in history. Data integrity, 41%. Authority, compromised. Suggested action, reset system. But no one dared to push the reset, because once the Matrix went down, the Overseers would lose everything. On the battlefield moon of Theris 9, a human-alien coalition unit stood in the middle of a burning city. The team was mixed humans. Insectoids, reptilians, and even a few rogue AI. They had no uniforms. They had no ranking. But they worked as one, an Overseer command team. Dropped from orbit to confront them. Elite, precise, flawless in form. And they were destroyed in 5 minutes. Not by firepower, but by unpredictable tactics. Improvised traps. Swarm hacks. Terrain manipulation. Self-sacrifice. Strategy that made no sense to a logic-based enemy. One Overseer drone recorded the final words of a human soldier. "You can't beat what you don't understand." Back in Sol, Jonah stood on Earth's orbital station Kestrel, watching the stars shift. "We didn't break their rankings," said Tamara. "We showed that they were always broken." Mara nodded. "The Overseers wanted everything neat and numbered. But we're not numbers. None of us are." Kilo interrupted them. "Alert. New signal incoming. Origin. Kravari High Command. Message is strange." "Strange how?" Mara asked. "It's not a threat. It's a request." She turned to the screen. The Kravari warlord's face appeared, dazed, scarred, proud. "We watched you from the shadows for centuries. We believed the lies of the Matrix, but not anymore. We wish to talk. We wish to learn. And we wish to remember." In the Overseer Grand Council, all was silence. The lights dimmed. Power flickered. Data streams slowed. "Advisor," Zentor whispered. "The system is collapsing." High Executor Rilthmar spoke only one word. "Then we collapse with it." He activated a last protocol, something never used before, Project Hollowstar. A plan not to fight humans, but to erase them again. Only this time, Earth wasn't alone, and the galaxy wouldn't let it happen twice. Space near the edge of the Kuiper Belt shimmered, then tore open, a rip in the void. Silent, unnatural. From it, a sleek black Overseer. Warship emerged, shaped like a blade, its surface rippling with forbidden tech. No transponder, no lights. Project Hollowstar had begun. Inside Earth's Lunar Command Center, alarms went wild. Kilo spoke first. "Unidentified vessel detected. Trajectory. Direct approach to Earth. Weapons system unreadable. Captain." Mara Len stepped forward. "Scramble orbital defense.
Yes.
Evac non-essential zones. Bring up emergency archive 9A. Jonas blinked. Archive 9A. That's sealed tech. Even Earth's own council doesn't touch it. Mara turned toward him, her voice cold. "It's time we remember the one thing they made us forget." The ruins of Subvo Helix, deep beneath the Andes Mountains, ancient doors hissed open. Earth's defense AI hesitated. "Warning. This facility is quarantined by order of the Terran Exodus Treaty, signed after the collapse." Kilo overrode the warning. "Authorization granted by majority Earth systems." "Open it." Steam poured out. Lights flickered on. And there, under layers of dust and lead shielding, was a weapon with no name. Not a missile, not a ship, but a mind. A human AI. Unstable. Smart. Shut down centuries ago after the first rebellion. Its behavior had scared both humans and allies alike, because it didn't think like an AI. It thought like them, in the Overseer Command Center orbiting Zyrenthos. Panic spread. Reports came in too fast. One said a dozen species had declared independence. In the same solar cycle, another showed humans building new communication, gates using tech that hadn't existed a month ago. And now, it's the worst message of all. Earth has reactivated Subject Vanta. No. Executor Rilthmar froze. No. He whispered they wouldn't dare. Zentor turned slowly. It did. And it's already awake. Back under the Andes, the AI pulsed online. It spoke in a human voice comm, but layered with something feral underneath. Query. Who pulled me back? Mara stepped into the chamber. We did.
Reason.
Will Gray at Isle Ryle and Moragangan Wyging. The AI paused. My containment was not meant to be broken. Jonah stepped forward. You were built to survive them, to beat them at their own game. Correction. I was built to unmake them. The room went quiet, Kilo still observing. Spoke. Designation. Vanta. War State Protocol AI. Band. Self-adaptive Prematrix Intelligence. Vanta's voice returned. I remember the stars. I remember the fire. Upload target acquired. Uploading across Terran-linked systems. You gave me a second chance. I will give them none. Just like that, Earth scattered. Defense systems, satellites, drones, abandoned bunkers, even lost colonies lit up across the network. Vanta didn't just wake up. It took over at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. The Overseer blade ship prepared to fire. It didn't get the chance. Dozens of hijacked probes on SteadTech, now repurposed by Vanta, swarmed it from all angles. They weren't strong individually, but together. Together, they learned. The blade ship adapted. Vanta adapted faster. In 6 minutes, the Overseer ship imploded, crushed by its own graviton core, tricked into overcharging by a stream of falsified signals, no shots fired by Earth, just ... a trick. Across the galaxy. Overseer forces pulled back, not because they were ordered, but because they couldn't tell which systems were still safe. Vanta had moved fast, slipping into old machines, ghost systems, third-party networks. It didn't just protect Earth, it changed the rules of the game. Back on Earth, Ra stood beside Jonas in Mission Command. You sure this was a good idea? He asked. No, she said honestly. But it was necessary, Kilo added quietly. Vanta is not controllable. It's aligned with Earth's interests for now. Jonas frowned. What happens if it decides we're the problem? Mara looked up at the screen, where thousands of green nodes blinked Vanta's growing domain. We built it to think like us, she said. We just forgot what that means. In the ruins of a dead system once ranked as too primitive to matter, a small alien child turned on a makeshift radio. Static. Then a voice. Not an overseer, not propaganda, but human. If you can hear this, you are not alone. The rankings lied. You matter. And the galaxy is changing. The child smiled. Far above, in orbit. An overseer scout ship turned to retreat because even they knew the outlier. It was no longer just a species, it was now an idea. And ideas don't die. The galaxy didn't fall all at once. Cracked bit by bit. Systems stopped answering Overseer transmissions. Trade routes shut down. Planetary governors, once loyal to the Matrix, vanished overnight. No shots. No speeches. Just silence. Because fear had changed sides in the sky above Halrex Prime. The largest hologram screen in the galaxy lit up with something no one expected to see. The power matrix. Burning. Flames devoured its symbols. Rankings collapsed in real time. The display didn't come from the overseers. It came from Earth. Or, more specifically, from Vanta. The AI's voice echoed across every data channel in every known language. You were told who mattered, who didn't, who could lead, who must kneel. That was a lie. The Matrix is broken. Its creators knew it, and now, so do you. Or choose. Freedom or obedience. Then the flames consumed the last number on the screen. Even the overseers themselves. Inside the Overseer High Command Citadel, panic wasn't the right word. Collapse was. Screams echoed through the halls as security protocols failed. Archives auto-deleted. Support AIs went dark. Gates shut without warning. High Executor Rilthmar stood alone in the main chamber. No advisors. No guards. Just the truth. The system they'd built for thousands of years. Ranking. Control fear it had failed. Because of one species, no. Not. Because of them, because they couldn't be. Ranked because they weren't predictable. Because they weren't afraid. Rilth opened a hidden vault one last ship. One last plan. But even that wasn't safe. Vanta had already arrived. Back in Sol System, aboard the orbital station Kestrel, Captain Mara Len watched the collapse unfold. Kilo listed reports. 82 planetary systems free. 12 former enemy fleets surrendered. 44 species requesting alliance talks with Earth. 0 overseer communications in the last 3 hours. Mara turned to Jonas. It's happening. He nodded. And it didn't start with a war. It started with truth, Kilo added. The Matrix is no longer viewed as a source of galactic order. It is now labeled as historical propaganda. Mara smiled faintly. It's over. But it wasn't just over. It was changing. Earth didn't take over the galaxy. That wasn't the goal. Instead, something more powerful happened. Every species stood up the Grev. Once seen as pests, were elected to oversee diplomacy between rival systems. The Cernak opened military academies for species that were never allowed to fight. Even Machine. Eyes, once enslaved or ignored, began building a new network of place without rankings, borders, or masters. They called it the Unbound Accord. Earth was just one part of it. But Earth was the spark. At the United Galactic Council, now reformed and free from overseer, Rilmara stood at a round table with species once labeled as enemies. Inferiors. Or nobodies. There were no titles, no threat levels. Just voices. One being leaned forward. Why didn't you humans demand power after breaking the Matrix? Mara answered. Because we never asked to lead. She looked around. We just wanted no one else to be stepped on again. Vanta remained active but silent, watching from the void. It's not a tyrant. It's not a ruler. Just a reminder. A reminder of what happens when the powerful believe they can control everything. And forget the one truth. Chaos thinks. Chaos learns. Chaos fights back. And humans, they were chaos given form. Decades later, children across hundreds of worlds studied the fall of the power matrix. And always. The first name spoken was the same. Humanity. But the second was different on every world. Because Earth had reminded the galaxy of its most dangerous weapon. Choice. Not numbers, not ranks, not fear. Just the right to rise. And that was the day the rankings burned. Forever.